Hey guys, thanks for just taking a second to look at what I'm sending you. Um, we've been following auctions across the nation for the past 6 months. We've been actively bidding on properties. A lot of what we're focused on are homes that are in lower income areas that need work and rehabilitation. We try to get the properties fairly cheap and wholesale them. So we're looking for quite a bit of profit margin in what we're looking at. Um, we don't really want to do the fix and flip. The difference here is that this is closer to where you live, and there may be a potential for us to do something in the fix and flip arena, which has considerably more profit margin than wholesaling. And so, like I said, I really appreciate you just taking the time to listen to this. What you're looking at right here, I'm just going to dive right in. What you're looking at is the list of properties that we've identified in the Tacoma area that sort of fit our criteria in terms of location, average price of home. Anyways, we have a whole bunch of different criteria that we use to figure out whether or not this is something we want to bid on. The thing is that the property here is worth so much more than a lot of the other areas we're looking at. It sort of has extended us beyond what we actually have financing or funds available to work with. But I want to probably circle back around to Tacoma next year. If we can move on something this year, it'd be amazing. But again, let me just dive right in. So we have about 36 properties here that fit our criteria. We just grabbed 3 of them to do a quick look at just to see how this sorts out. So I'm going to jump to the first one, 315 4th Avenue. And so this is our sheet. This is the sheet that we use to evaluate whether or not a property is going to be profitable to invest in. What we see in a lot of the auctions is a lot of the people purchasing at auctions now do not run the numbers correctly, or at least that's what I assume is happening, because we see a lot of properties getting sold for way more than they're probably worth, especially once you factor in all the fees and associated costs with acquiring the property, dealing with it after you get somebody out, the process of getting somebody out. We do work with a team that's all over the nation that is skilled and has over 10 years of experience evicting people from a property, cleaning it up after they've gotten out, and getting it just in a basic shape so that we can wholesale it. And then typically somebody who fixes the property comes in, purchases it from us at a wholesale price. And so we do calculate in the profit margin for the flipper. So first property is 315 4th Avenue. That is in Puyallup, I don't even know how to pronounce that, Washington. You can see here on Zillow, it's worth $479,000. When I look at our property sheet, when we do our analysis, it looks like Zillow, Redfin, Realtor give us an average of $482,000. We then run our own set of comps on it right here, and we're coming in a little lower, about $10,000 less at $471,000 with some change. And then the next sheet is actually our big sheet. This is where we find out, is there any money to be made on this property? We're going to assume that we're going to purchase this property at $195,000. The reason we picked that purchase price is we analyzed past auctions, specifically this past auction last year, and the winning bids landed somewhere right around 50% of the market value. Using this formula, I can change what our winning bid is so that we know where our break-even point is, and based on that, we can decide, all right, how much profit do we want to pull out of this property, so we can do a risk assessment before we even go into the auction. We know what our max bid is, and we know how much profit we will have based on that max bid. And we just strictly don't bid above our max bid. If we don't get the property, we don't get the property. The whole thing here is to make money and make it in a reasonable amount of time. Turnaround rate, we're hoping for 6 months, probably 3 to 6 months between when we actually win the property to when we get rid of it. We'll have to do a little more research on this county just to make sure there's not legalities that we need to deal with. But right now I'm expecting 3 to 6 months turnaround time. We're pulling our market value for the property over here at $471,000. These are all automatic computations. We also have a profit split. This formula here is if we were to wholesale the property, this is where we mostly work. But because of the uniqueness of this auction in Tacoma, I want to look at the purchase to flip option here. So if we were to purchase the property at $195,000, we're going to have a purchase price of $195,000. We're going to have a rehab of $82,000. Remember, we can't go inside of these properties. So a lot of these we're assuming worst case scenario, or maybe not worst case, but we're assuming that there's going to be a lot of work on the interior. If we're going to get this $471,000, we're most likely going to have to go into the property and probably not gut it, but we're going to have to do substantial work in it. We're going to have to raise the value of the property up to what the top selling properties are in the area. And so that's what we're assuming, is that we're going to come in, clean it up, fix it up really nice, make it look good, and then we're going to get this price at the end. So that's where we get our purchase price and rehab. We got $42,000 in additional fees, all calculated over here on the left. And then I'm adding in a 3% miscellaneous fee. I just think that things are going to pop up that we're not accounting for. 3% has been a good number to go off of, Could be a little more, could be a little less. We're expecting our total expenses on this property to be $334,000, which, when it's all said and done, we're looking at a profit of $137,000, turning into a 50-50 split of $68,000 each. Obviously, we can negotiate and talk about this property split. This is just an area that we would like to start our discussion. So, and then the big question is this actually viable? You know, these are all numbers on a spreadsheet. Does it actually work out? And so that's where we're going to go to Zillow, and we're looking at that same property. We're going to see here that Zillow is evaluating it at $479, and our price is $471. So we're just under what Zillow is saying it's worth. And Zillow says that the range could be anywhere from $407 to $541, depending on the condition of the house. But what I want to do is I want to take an exposed, like pulled back look at what's happening in the area, in the region, to see if properties are actually moving, if things are selling, are they on the market a long time. And so we do a lot of analysis. For the sake of time, I'm just going to do a quick overview. We do a much more in-depth analysis on what actually is happening in the areas at the time. So I'm going to pull back and look at the area. So I think the property is somewhere here on 4th Avenue. And I'm going to actually look at what's sold. I don't really care too much about what's listed. I care more about what's actually moving. And I'm actually going to pull the property up again because I forgot to pull up a value on this. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for properties that are somewhere 1,800 square feet. I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. I don't like this 1 bath thing. I think for a house this size, you should at least have 2.5 baths or more. But remember, we're planning to do some renovations, so we need to factor in that, okay, maybe we're going to have to actually add a bathroom. So we might want to reconsider our renovation costs when we're looking at this property and when we go back into our second financial analysis. So back to looking at the area, I want to look at everything that's moved in the last year. I don't need a historic from all time because that's not helpful. All right, and so we can see that that's whittled down the number of items that are in our list, and then I'm going to throw a maximum square foot of 2,000. I think that's enough. In the immediate neighborhood, we got 3 properties that popped up right away. These are all for less money than what we are seeing. It's all for less money than what we were hoping to see, but one thing that I'm noticing here is all of these properties are considerably smaller. They're about 700 to 800 square feet less than what we're doing. So I'm going to back out just a little bit to try and get a better feel for what's going on in the neighborhood. And as you can see, these are all the houses that sold in the area for about $500,000. So we're right in the right area, right price range here. But we need to get a little bit closer. So I'm actually going to throw a minimum square foot, and I'm going to throw that in there. And so that actually brings up some better comps for me to look at. So I'm going to see this one here, 3-bed, 3-bath, 1,700 square feet. So this one sold in September 10th. So that's a good comp for us because the square footage is about the same, bedroom's about the same. Then we can see here, we're probably going to want to add that bathroom or half bathroom, whatever we're going to do to get up to at least a better bathroom count. So we see here, here's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet, $600,000. And the reason I'm staying clear from some of these is just because it's a lower square footage. I want to get closer to the 1,800 square foot. Here we got 4-bedroom, 2 baths. That's a little bit bigger, and it's also further out. You can see when I highlight it, it's over here. It's kind of a little bit further out of the area that I want to be focused on. So I don't like that comp as much. But as you can see, as I look through a lot of these, the houses, even this one that's 500 square feet less, it sold for $425,000. That was in October. We got this 3-bed, 2-bath. This one is also about 500 square feet less than the one we're looking at. This one sold for $534,000. And remember, we're estimating this property to be $471,000. So I think we have plenty of margin on that property, and we can also see that houses are selling in the area, and they're selling for the price range we want to get this thing listed at. And if we have a chance to talk more about it, we'll go through the numbers on the renovation. But let me move to the other 2 properties real quick so I don't take up too much of your time. Next property we're looking at is 8321 Golden Given Road. That's in Tacoma, Washington. Let me go through the numbers for you real quick. We're estimating this property to be worth $537,000 after we've done the work to upgrade it. Purchase price, $225,000, $100,000 in rehab. We got $48,000 in additional fees. We got 3% miscellaneous fee. Total all in for this job, just under $400,000, $389,000. So based on that, based on flipping the property and getting $537,000 at the end of the day, we're looking at $147,000 in profit. We're looking at a $73,000 profit split. Let's actually take a look at the property itself. Here's Golden Gibbon. It's up on the road. This picture was taken this year. All the pictures that we're looking at were taken this year. One thing that I do is I run into Google Maps, and I want to see if there's any recent pictures in Google Maps. I'm not going to take the time to do that just to save us the time and energy of it. But we're going to look at the property and see that it looks like it's actually being lived in right now. That's a good sign for us, unless they're living in this house over in the corner. But we will send somebody out to the property to take pictures and to do an assessment. We can't get into the property, but we're going to send somebody out to actually assess the property and see if it's in the condition that we see it right now. We're also going to check and make sure it's not on a demolition list. We're going to do a couple checks to make sure that it is a viable property. Zillow is saying it's $629. We are saying that it's $537. So again, we're about $100,000 less than what Zillow is saying it's worth. Just went through all the numbers. So we're going to do exactly the same thing for this property that we did for the last property and see if things are moving. Oops, I closed that too soon. Sorry. All right, so we're looking at 2,200 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2.25 baths. Actually, change the home type. That's good. All right, so we see nothing in the immediate neighborhood, but hopefully we see stuff as we zoom out a little bit and get a better idea of what's going on in the area. So as we can see here, we're right about in the middle of the map is where the house typically ends up. As we zoom out just a little bit, we can see there's a huge chunk of homes here that sold in the $600,000 range. That's probably what's causing an increase in the comps. So these are new homes, new construction. As you can see here, they all look brand new. But everything else is in the $400,000 range, $500,000 range. And this is all properties that have sold in the last year. And some of these are considerably smaller. This one here for $500,000, it's 1,600 square feet, so it's 600 square feet less than the property we're looking at. That one sold for 500. This one here is probably closer. This new house here is 2,300 square feet, sold for $611,000. I'm just going to go through and see what else is here. So this is probably a better comp for us, even though it's a little further out. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 525, 2,000 square feet. It's not new construction, and so I like this as a comp. This other house is a little bit lower. It's quite a bit smaller, $452,000. But we can see that houses are selling, they're moving. This huge chunk of homes just sold recently, so that's a good sign that people are actually looking for property in the area. So it looks like a developer came in, built all these out, and then they all sold relatively quickly. And I'm actually going to just see how fast these things have moved. So I'm going to come down here and I want to say, what sold in the last 14 days, what sold in the last month. All right, so 2 houses sold down here in the last month, in the last 90 days. So in the last 3 months, we have quite a bit of movement. So I would say that this is a pretty good area for us to invest in a house and put in the time and energy to fix it up and make it nice. And we should be able to get what we're looking at $537,000. All right, last property. Thank you for taking the time to listen through this whole thing. We got our Zillow Redfin Realtor average. We got $742,000. Our comps, we ran our comps. We got 705, 699, 699 for 701 is our average value. Remember, this is our estimate as the house is been fixed up and renovated a little bit. Actually renovated a lot. I'm not going to say a little bit. The house should be in really pristine condition for us to get this price. We do have a price split if we don't do any renovation, which we can talk about at a different time, but this is our wholesale calculator. And so you can see here, we're expecting quite a bit less if we don't do the work to fix the property. We're expecting to buy this house for about $350,000. We're expecting $80,000 in rehab, $60,000 in additional fees. We're looking at miscellaneous costs of $21,000. We're looking at total expenses to be approximately $511,000. Again, we're selling it for $700,000, giving us a profit of $189,000. 50-50 split comes out to $94,000 each. Let's look at the property. We're going to do exactly the same thing. These pictures were taken in July or August, I can't remember, but really nice home. Looks well kept from the outside. We don't know why it's up for auction. Could be a number of different reasons, but really well kept home. I'm doubting there's going to be a lot of actual hardcore renovation inside the property. Most likely we're going to go through and just do fixtures, paint. I doubt there's going to be a lot of high-end work that needs to happen inside the property itself. Could be wrong, but just based on this picture here, it looks like a really nice, well-maintained home. Again, we're looking at 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet. Zillow saying it's worth 776. We are saying it's worth 701. So we're coming in about 70,000 less than what Zillow is saying we could get for the property. Is that Ridgeway? I just want to make sure I'm doing calculations here. Yeah, Ridgeway. All right. So is it viable? Can we do this? So we're going to switch it. Let's see what's actually moved. And we're obviously going to have to change our square footage up some. We actually have square footage on the first tab. 1,700 square feet, almost 1,800 square feet. So 2,000 is about right. These are good. Let's move this back down to it here. All right, immediate neighborhood, we don't really see any movement. It doesn't mean anything, it just means no one's listed their house or sold it, possibly. So we're gonna pan out for, I think it's like a quarter mile. So once we pan out to about a quarter mile away, we got 4 properties that came up. We got a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,729 square feet. This sold 2 months ago, $699. There's our $699 comp. This one sold in July, 710. A little bit smaller. It's about 300 square feet smaller than what we have right now. So that's a good comp. Then we have this one here, sold in June. It was 3 beds, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, sold for 705. And then we have this 2-bed, 2-bath, more square footage. It's like 100 more square feet, sold for 536. So we grabbed these comps. This house might have sold for less. It might not have been as good a condition inside. We don't know. When I mouse over it, it's way over here on the other side of this this waterway. So I don't actually like that as a comp. I'd rather see comps be in the same general geographic region. So I'm gonna actually pen out just a little bit more to see if anything has happened. Remember, I'm looking at this waterway and sort of looking at this area. One thing that we'll do before we actually move on a property is we'll come in and we will do an analysis on Sweet Hill. We're going to look at, what kind of neighborhood this is. Is it a high crime rate area? Is it a low crime rate area? We're going to evaluate all those statistics before we actually decide to move on a piece of property. Typically, when you're dealing with $500,000, $700,000 homes, you probably are not going to deal with high crime, probably in pretty good school districts. We can see the whole general area. There's been a lot of sales in this area for the last year. Again, I might get a little aggressive and say, okay, how much has moved in the last 6 months? Right, and so you see still a bunch of homes sold in the last 6 months, last 90 days. Still quite a few homes sold in the last 90 days. The last 30 days, not too many, but I mean, in the last 90 days, that's a good number of homes for the region we're looking at, and they're all selling for a great price for us to reach the numbers that we're looking at for this auction, right? We're looking at, $700,000 for the home. I think we're right in a good sweet spot to get that price. So anyways, I just wanted to pass on this information, but I would love to get your feedback on these 3 properties. I can send you these Excel sheets so you can take a look at them and dissect them, do whatever you want with them. Ask questions, but man, I really appreciate you guys, and I hope to hear from you soon.